Hello, good morning, students. How are you? Welcome back to the new academic year. Let us begin our learning journey. So, before we start, let me introduce myself. I am Miss Fazila. I'm your science teacher. I'm from India but have been in Qatar all my life since I was a baby. I love learning and I love teaching. And my hobbies are reading, crafts, etc. So now let's go into our lesson. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to explain science, list some of the things scientists do, list some of the important skills that a good scientist must learn, and state the safety rules for working in the lab, in the science lab. So let's begin. What is science? What do you think is science? So before we start, I want you to predict if it's true or false. The first one says, science can determine what book you will enjoy. Can science tell you which book you can enjoy? No, right? Science cannot tell you because it's the different likes of different people. Now, scientists can often be creative in designing experiments. Yes, they can do different types of experiments. Because they are well educated, scientists do not need to make any observations before coming to a conclusion. Do you think? No, it's false because they need to make experiments and observation. Scientists result, Scientific results can be proven incorrect. Do you think sometimes scientific results are wrong? Yes, sometimes it's wrong, right? Like, for example, in the beginning, people thought that our earth is flat. But now we know that it is round or spherical in shape because with scientific experiments and with the development of technology, they came to know that our earth is sphere, right? Now, look at this picture, okay? This is a pottery in the photo. Now, they are doing something on it. Now, what is one question a scientist might ask and one question a non-scientist might ask? So, let's see. A scientist will ask, what gives the what gives the glaze its unique shine? How is it shining? What is making it shine? This is the scientist will ask and try to find answer. But a non-scientist might ask what? Maybe, would this pottery go well with the furniture? Would it be good to keep in my home? Will it go with the decoration, with the interior of the house? A non-scientist will ask these kind of questions. Okay, what do scientists use to make discoveries? I want you to guess your answers and let's see if this is correct. It can be right or wrong, it's okay, we are just going to learn. I want you to just predict and guess. What do scientists use to make discoveries? Luck, observations, scientific method, or encyclopedia? Which do they use, the scientists use? Okay, I hope you have guessed your answer. Now let's move to number 2. What is another word for hypothesis? Educated guess, conclusion, lucky guess, or good guess? And number 3, scientists test their hypothesis with what? People, animals, an experiment, or an assessment? Number 4, what's the last step in the scientific method? Is it hypothesis, conclusion, observation, or reflection? I hope you all have noted down your guesses. You can write it down somewhere, like for example, you can write 1 and write A, B, C, which one is your answer? Then you can write number 2 and write your answer. Okay, I hope you have done it. Just make a wild guess. Let's see if it's correct. Let's check the answers. Here, these are the correct answers. Now, this was just a guessing, so it doesn't matter if you go wrong. Let's move on to the lesson. So what is science? We know that science is a school subject, but what else is science? It is the study of the world around us, the whole world around us. Not only the earth, but when you say the whole world, it includes the sky, the stars, the planets, everything. Yes, it's the study of plants, right? Trees, fruits, flowers. We learn about all these. We also learn about animals. So science is also the study of animals. There are birds, mammals, amphibians, invertebrates, vertebrates, reptiles, fish. You learn all these. Science also we learn about human body, the different parts, different organs, different system in our body. And we learn about the environment, the study of environment, right? The weather, volcanoes, different kind of, storm, breeze, earthquakes, all these we learn. And more, we also learn more things. So it's actually the study of the whole world around us. Now, science is a way of understanding everything in the world. How can we understand things in the world? By science. From the smallest piece of matter to the whole universe, you can understand using science. Who uses science? Is it a pilot, or an engineer, or an astronaut, or a teacher, or a videographer, a cleaner, a fireman, a doctor, a chef? Who do you think uses science? I guess you will say 2 or 3 people from here, but everybody uses science, right? We use science in our daily life. Okay. Now, when do people use science? People use science for everything. When you're cooking, we are using science. When you're when you're the firefighter, when he is trying to put out the fire, he is using science. Experiments, the teacher with the students, they are using science. In our home, electricity, everything uses science. Science is the systematic study of natural events and conditions. There are different branches of science. We have biology, we have physics, we have chemistry, we have geology. These are some of the branches of science. Now let's see, what is biology? Biology is the study of living things. So it includes the study of plants and animals and all type of living things. Now what is physics? It is the study of how things move, matter, what's happening to the planets, what's happening to the, a magnet, all the things which is moving and all you can see in the picture. These all a study of physics. Chemistry is the study of change, the chemical changes. When you add chemicals, what change is happening? So this is actually a study of change. And geology is the study of earth, about the rocks, about the transformation of the earth, about the earth's surface. So all this comes in geology. So what is a scientist, or who is a scientist? A scientist is a person who performs experiments, different kind of experiments. A scientist is a person who discovers, sorts, measures, wonders, records, collects, asks questions, experiments, records, observes, invents, classifies. So a scientist doing a lot of things. And you are also a scientist because sometimes you measure something, you ask questions, you record, you do experiments. So you are also a scientist. What do scientists do? They ask a question and they make a guess and they try to do an experiment to see if their guess is right or no. And they observe and record what happens in the experiment. And then they compare the guess which they had in the beginning to what happens and they come to a conclusion. So this is actually a scientific method. So who wants to be a scientist? I know all of you want to do, right? So let's I will show you an experiment. So the first step is to ask a question. What will happen if we put these pellets into a glass of water? These small blue balls, if you add it, what will happen? This is the first step. You wonder. So this is your question. Now you make a guess. What will happen? You try to guess what will happen. You can say it will dissolve and the water will turn blue, or you can say nothing will happen. The blue ball will lie in the water as it is. Or you can say it will become bigger. The ball will become bigger. You can make any guess. So we have 3 guesses here. We need to check what is the right answer. How do we do it? By doing an experiment, right? So here what we will do? We will try to put the ball into the glass of water. So now after we put, what do? We observe and record. We try to look what's happening to this. Is it becoming bigger? Is the water's color changing or nothing is happening? So here what's happening? Nothing is happening, right? So where was your guess correct? Did you guess it correctly? So this is actually the scientific method. You compare your guess which you made initially with what happened. So we know that nothing happened over here, and we come to a conclusion that if you add this particular pellet into the water, nothing will happen. But maybe if you add something else, the color will change or something. We'll have to try with an experiment. So this is the scientific method, the steps you take to answer a scientific question. First of all, we have a question, a problem. What do you want to solve? You have a question with you, right? And the second one is hypothesis or your prediction or your guess, your educated guess. You're not just guessing out of blue, but from your previous experience or from your knowledge, from something you have read or something you have learned, you're making an educated guess. After that, you gather the supplies, the materials you need to do the experiment, and then you do the experiment. After that, you get the result. You observe, you measure, you try to note down what's happening, and then you come to a conclusion. You use words to explain if your hypothesis was right or wrong. Sometimes it might be right, sometimes it might be wrong. Sometimes you'll have to repeat the experiment to see what happened, something else happened. So this is the scientific method. You have a problem, a question, then you have a guess, which is a hypothesis. Then you do the experiment using the required materials, and then you get the result, compare it, and find a conclusion. Sir Isaac Newton was sitting under his apple tree when one apple fell on his head, and he started wondering what force made the apple fall out. So this was his question. And then through different experiment and all, finally he realized it is a force known as, finally he realized that there is a force which pulls things towards the earth, and he named it gravity. Now let's read this to find answers to the question that follows. The first successful vaccination to protect against disease was given in 1796 by a doctor called Edward Jenner. At that time, the disease called smallpox killed hundreds and thousands of people each year. Jenner caught smallpox as a child, and he knew that people who survived smallpox never caught it again. One day, Jenner treated a milkmaid who had caught cowpox from the cows she milked. Cowpox is similar to smallpox, but less serious. Cowpox is okay. You get it, you can recover from it. But smallpox, you get it, it can kill you. The milkmaid, she told Jenner that people who had been infected with cowpox never caught smallpox. Jenner's hypothesis was that the cowpox infection made the body immune to smallpox. So when he observed the milkmaid, he made this hypothesis. Jenner tested his theory by scratching liquid from cowpox spots into the arm of a healthy boy. So he did the experiment by taking the liquid from cowpox spots on the body into an arm of a healthy boy. Now he's testing if the boy can catch smallpox. So he take the material from the body of smallpox and put it to the boy. The boy did not catch smallpox. So he observed and he made the conclusion. The cowpox had made him immune. Since Jenner made his discovery, smallpox has been beaten by vaccination. Now, slowly, using this method, many scientists did more experiments and all, and finally they came up with vaccination. No one catches this disease today. Now, no one have smallpox. Vaccination against many other diseases has also been developed. So this is how vaccination was developed. Now let's go to the questions. So the first question is, what observations did Jenner make? So what did he find out in the beginning? He found that people who had cowpox didn't get smallpox. So because of this observation, what did he did? He started making a hypothesis, right? So question number 2 is, what hypothesis did these observations lead to? He made the prediction that cowpox made the body immune to smallpox. Once you get cowpox, you will not get smallpox also. Now, this led him to do the experiment, right? What experiment did he do with Jenner do to test his theory? He took the liquid, he scratched the liquid from cowpox spots into the arm of a healthy boy. Now, what process had Jenner invented? What is the process? It's called vaccination. How was Jenner's discovery help the society? How did it help the society? Smallpox has been beaten by vaccination. We don't have smallpox anymore, right? And also, vaccination have been developed for other diseases. Now, number 6, discuss the safety of Jenner's experiment. Do you think this experiment is safe? Not safe, right? Maybe the boy could get smallpox and die, but at that time there was no option, to try, so they tried it. So would he be allowed to do the same experiment today? No. Today they do experiments on animals, they don't do experiments on humans. Okay, now let's move on to activity 2. It says that we have some science skills mentioned here. You need to group them as practical skills or thinking skills. Now, practical skills are the skills which you do actually, but thinking which you think. So let's do making observation, you observe. Is it a practical skill or a thinking skill? It is a practical skill. Now, collecting specimen, collecting samples, collecting, it's actually an action, right? So it's a practical skill. What about recording data? You record the data, you write down whatever you found. Yes, it is a practical skill. Now, presenting data in graphs and tables. If you want to present the data in graphs and tables, you're making tables and graphs. Yes, it is of course a practical skill. Now, planning and investigation. When you plan, yes, it is a thinking skill because you are planning in your mind. Okay, now the next set of things. Making measurements. Is it a practical skill or a thinking skill? You're making the measurements. Yes, it is a practical skill. Making sketches or drawings or diagrams. Yes, it is practical. Forming a hypothesis, making prediction. You're predicting something. Yes, it should be a thinking skill. Now, designing a fair test, you're designing the test, you're not actually doing it. Yes, it should be a thinking skill. And drawing conclusions, making conclusions. Yes, it is also a thinking skill. Okay, now let's discuss about safety in the laboratory when you go to the science lab. To be a scientist, you cannot study science from books. Just studying from books will do? No. You need to do experiments in the lab to test your ideas and make discoveries. So scientists, they don't just study from the books. And even the things written in the book was once discovered using experiments, right? So a science lab can be a dangerous place if people don't take care while doing experiments, because you're using a lot of chemicals, you're using different things. If you are not careful, accidents can happen. So to stay safe, we must think about what things can cause harm. We need to know what are the things which cause harm. So let's see what are the things. If you want, you can open your pupils book, page 9. Electricity can kill. So we should never use water and electricity because electricity can be conducted through water. So be careful when you use electricity, don't use it in water. Don't use it together. Now, sharp blades and pieces of broken material can cause cuts. So you should be careful when you use sharp blades and don't keep broken material over there. You need to immediately dispose it. Heat can cause burns. Hot water can scald. So you have to allow hot containers to cool before you move them, because when you move them, the hot things can spill and it can cause burns. Heavy objects can cause bruises if they fall, so you should be careful when you are when you are using heavy objects. Loose outer clothing can catch apparatus and knock it off the bench. If you have loose clothing, when you move, the cloth can, just move and push something down. People can fall over bags, so the lab should be always clean and tidy. An untidy laboratory can lead to accidents, so keep the floor tidy, and bags and coats should be out of the way. You should keep it safe, not on the way when people walk. Long hair must be tied back. Heated substances can splash and cause burns. Some chemicals are poisonous and some are irritants. It could damage your eyesight or your skin like this. So never smell, taste, or touch a substance unless you know that it is safe. If you know what it is and you know it is safe, you can touch and do things. Otherwise, never smell, taste, or touch. So there are some more rules mentioned in your book, page 10. Do not drink, eat, or taste. Like I said, you don't touch, taste, or without teacher's permission, because if you don't know, at least the teacher knows what's happening inside the lab, right? Carry, don't throw. When you move things from, or when you pass things from one person to another, don't throw, just give it in hand. Wear shoes, not sandals. Walk, don't run. Inform your teacher at once if there is an accident or a breakage. Watch out for safety of others. Wear eye protection when performing experiments because it can go into your eye. Use small quantities of materials whenever possible. Only do what your teacher has suggested or agreed. Don't invent something out of your mind and start doing it. Follow the experimental procedures strictly. You have to follow the steps strictly. Do only what you understand. If you are not sure, you have to ask. And afterwards, you need to clean all your apparatus and tidy your bench and wash your hands. Now, let's check our progress for today. What is science? Okay, it is the study of the world around us and everything in it. And what are the 4 branches of science we learned today? Biology, physics, chemistry, and geology. I'm going to give you some science scenarios. Okay, you need to read each of them, and as a student, you need to see if the student is doing things safely or not safely. Is he breaking rules or not? So first one, Karen was excited to begin the experiment. Since she was in a hurry, she decided not to fool with putting on her safety goggles. So she decided not to put the safety goggles. After all, she's just mixing with some liquids. She thought that. Was she being safe? She was not being safe, right? She's breaking the rules. You have to always wear goggles when you are, because you need to protect your eyes. Another scenario, Andy cleaned up the equipment from the science experiment and put everything back where it belonged. She decided not to wash her hands before she left the classroom because she had washed them before starting the experiment. So why should she wash it now? Was she being safe? No, because you have to wash your hands after you clean up everything and when you have done. Now, the next scenario, Gabe was in charge of carrying the container of water to his science experiment station, but he tripped and some of the water spilled from the bucket. Gabe immediately told his teacher and he started wiping it with the paper towels. Was he being safe? Yes, because he informed his teacher and it is just water, so he's, wiping it with paper towels. Next scenario, Emery was being careful with the glass beaker that his group was using for the science experiment, but it slipped off the table and broke. He immediately told his teacher and followed her directions for cleaning it up. Was he being safe? Yes, because he informed and he is following the instructions what the teacher told him. Next scenario, Juliet was tired after staying up and watching her favorite YouTube channel the night before, so she didn't pay attention to the teacher's directions. When it came time to begin the experiment, she just watched everyone else and tried to do what they're doing instead of asking the teacher what the directions were. Was she being safe? Was she safe? Not safe, because she need to ask, because she's not sure, she did not listen properly. She need to ask and make sure she's doing it correctly, not copy from someone. Thank you. That's all today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next class. Bye. Take care.